Hi, my name is Lisa Schnell. I'm a children's book author, and I'm making a series of videos based on my book, TIDE for Horseshoe Crabs. The book was written by me, Lisa Kahn Schnell, illustrated by Alan Marks, and I'm sharing it with you today with permission of Charles Bridge Publishing Company. The videos I'm making are going to be focusing on three things that I love: science, art, and writing. And today we're going to start with science. So just as an overview, one of the main events that I talk about in my book is horseshoe crab spawning. And this happens in the springtime every year starting around April. And what happens is that the horseshoe crabs, the adult horseshoe crabs, come up to shore. It starts slowly at first with just a few horseshoe crabs coming on the shore. And little by little, there's more and more horseshoe crabs until in May or June, the beach might be crowded with horseshoe crabs like this, especially under a new or full moon. So the horseshoe crabs come to shore, the female lays eggs in the sand, and a couple of weeks later, baby horseshoe crabs emerge. And today I want to give you a behind-the-scenes tour of how those baby horseshoe crabs grow up. So when the female horseshoe crab digs down into the sand, she lays a cluster of small green eggs. There could be 20,000 eggs in each cluster, and she can do this for 4 nights, so that's like 80,000 eggs. Now a lot of those horseshoe crab eggs will stay in the sand and they'll turn into baby horseshoe crabs. But some might get disturbed by waves or other horseshoe crabs, and they'll float to the surface and probably just become food for other animals. So they're still really important. Now the ones that are in the sand developing will hatch out a couple of weeks later, and you can see they're really small when they first come out. They're just about the size of ladybugs, but they grow. So let's talk more about how they grow. If you squeeze your arm, you can feel down deep inside there's your squishy skin, your muscles, and way down deep in there you might even feel the bones of your skeleton. Your skeleton is really important. It helps to give you support, it gives shape to your body, and it's a really important part to your body. Well, horseshoe crabs have a skeleton too, but theirs is on the outside. It's called an exoskeleton. So the horseshoe crab skeleton is also really important. It also gives it structure, it gives it protection against other animals that might want to eat it. But the problem is that it makes it really hard for the horseshoe crab to grow. So it has a way around this problem. As the horseshoe crab gets bigger, underneath that outer shell, it actually makes a brand new shell. It's soft and kind of wrinkly underneath there, and when it's ready to come out, it sucks in lots of extra water into its body, and it actually pops open that old shell and crawls out and waits for that new shell to expand and harden. That process is called molting, and a horseshoe crab actually does that 16 or 17 times by the time it's an adult, which happens around 9 or 10 years old. This is a really stressful time for the horseshoe crab because it's very delicate. It could get eaten by another animal before its new shell hardens. So it often does it in a protected place, down in the sand or mud underneath the water. So does that sound like how people grow? I don't think so. What about another animal like a cat, or a fish, or a rabbit? Nope, none of those animals grow like a horseshoe crab. None of them molt. What about an animal, maybe you've seen a cicada, found the husk of a cicada on the tree. Those animals do molt. Insects all have to molt, shed that outer exoskeleton as they grow. So let's look again at that picture of the baby horseshoe crabs, the ones that were about the size of ladybugs. As they molt, they get bigger. With each molt, they get a little bigger. So here's another tiny little molt. You can see how this one was growing. This one is bigger still. They keep molting, they keep growing, shedding those outer layers and making the new bigger ones underneath, until finally they're an adult horseshoe crab. Really big horseshoe crab. And one thing that I think is really interesting is that all of the parts of the horseshoe crab come off with each molt. So there's the main body parts. There's this part here called the prosoma. This part is called the opistosoma. And this part is called the telson. Those all come off with each molt. But if you look at the underside of the horseshoe crab, you can see that all of the legs, those layers came off too. The little bristles in the mouth, those were shed also with the molt. The gills down here, those also came off. The whole thing comes off. Now, if you're ever at the beach, this is one reason why I thought horseshoe crabs would be so interesting to study and to share in my book, is that if you're ever at the beach and you see a horseshoe crab, it's actually okay to pick them up. The thing you want to pay attention to, though, is to always pick them up by this part, the prosoma. It's a very sturdy part of the shell. You never want to pick them up by the telson or tail. It's only attached with a small muscle here, and if you were to damage that, the horseshoe crab couldn't flip itself back over. If it's upside down, if it's like this, it's a lot more protected if it's like this. And it uses that telson or tail to do that. Now it looks really sharp, but there's no stinger. Horseshoe crabs don't bite or pinch or do anything to hurt people. The only thing you have to watch out for is this little pinch spot right here. If the horseshoe crab is wiggling around, you could get your finger pinched in there. But even when it's moving, it's okay to touch the legs. Even if it was an adult, you can touch the legs, you can touch all the parts. Horseshoe crabs don't hurt you at all. So if you pick it up, you can take it and turn it right side up and put it over near the water and let it go on its way to make more baby horseshoe crabs. That's all for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.